Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at CMMSradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking with Zach Seely. He's the CEO of FSI. That's a healthcare-focused software as a service business. It's a CMMS that's really focused in on healthcare. He is on the Hubbard Corporate Board of Directors, and he also held positions at several media and technology-related businesses, including Luma Pictures, Spotify, Hulu, CNN, and Fox Sports. So today we're going to hear the journey story and the recent news about FSI receiving the Reader's Choice Award. Zach, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Greg, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I really wanted to do this a long time ago, and we're finally getting it done now. I saw that post about you guys receiving that award, and I said, man, I'm going to see if Zach's got some time to catch up with me. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is that. I want to hear from you, about the Reader's Choice Award that FSI received and why that's important.
Sure. So, like you said, it's a Reader's Choice Award from Facility Net, which was really fantastic. Being recognized by the readers of that publication, but hopefully, in many cases, our users as a standout in the software category is fantastic. I mean, FSI, we've been at this for a couple decades now. But in some cases in the past, we've been a best kept secret, and we're trying to, get our name out and get the word out, generate more awareness of the work that we're doing and the challenges that we're trying to solve. And so it was a great moment to be recognized, and we appreciate those readers and everybody who contributed to that.
Yeah, I think it's fun to see how everything unfolds. As you know, and a lot of people that, listen or follow the podcast, they know I'm really interested in journey stories because I think they matter. I think it's a great way to get to know not only you, but the organization that you represent. And another thing, you mentioned best kept secret. And I liked when you said that because I remember when I discovered FSI and I was like, wow, who are these guys? Because I was in the industry myself for, 18, 20 years, whatever. And so you're right. Like a lot of people didn't necessarily know who you were, where you are, and who you really service. But when they kind of dig in and start to get to know you, they see, well, wait a minute, these guys got a pretty big footprint. How do we not know who they are? So now that comes to the fore. And so this brings me to my next question. It's pretty standard, but can you talk to us about how your journey started and what drew you to FSI and the healthcare CMMS space?
Sure. So, most of my career, the vast majority of my career has been outside of healthcare and certainly not in facility management. But I started out in technology, strong focus in media and consumer tech. You mentioned several of my former employers. One of the first 30 employees at Hulu, spent 3 years there helping to build that business, which was really fantastic. Spent some time at Spotify, Luma Pictures. I also had the opportunity to spend several years in management consulting, and did all of my project work in technology related challenges and opportunities. And so I consulted for Fortune 500 companies across healthcare, finance, high tech, public sector, but all on projects that revolved around IT transformations, high tech strategy, things like that. And so, that doesn't necessarily give you a direct path into facility management and on the healthcare side, but life works in mysterious ways. I got to know Joe Serwinski, the founder of FSI, who I think you've had on the pod before,
Yep.
friend of the pod, and got to know him in the summer of 2020. And he had been leading FSI for, I think at that point, 18 years. He's steeped in the industry and pretty much knows everybody. And he had built a really amazing company in FSI with a dedicated set of products and services for the healthcare managed maintenance industry, both across facilities and HTM or clinical engineering. And he was really thinking about how do I take this to the next level. He'd done the hard work of building products and services that people love and that really meet a customer need. And so, after 18 years, he's done that. He's built it. He's established a set of incredible customers. He's grown the business. But the challenges of getting from product market fit and the sort of customer growth that we had achieved to kind of the next step in competing with a consolidated set of competitors, a lot of money being thrown into the industry. How does kind of little old FSI, and I mean that in the best way possible, how do we compete and how do we scale and grow without losing what got us to where we were? And so those were the conversations that he and I really started to have. And in at the end of 2020, we brought in some outside investors, and Joe stayed on as president and as a board member. And I stepped in for the first time in FSI's history as the only other CEO and leader of the business. But that's kind of the story. Is a little bit happenstance, a little bit of serendipity, I guess. But from that time, I mean, I will say, both in speaking to Joe and learning about the business that he had created at the time, and then now sitting here 3 years later, the appreciation for the challenges that our customers go through, the opportunities to lead efficient, safe hospital operations are incredibly valuable, incredibly important. And so the work that we do to try and help and enable some of those outcomes is unbelievably fulfilling. It's worthwhile. It's exciting. It's some of the most exciting work that I've ever done in my career, and I've been really happy to be a part of it.
It's so cool, and you can see that I'm kind of beaming over it because the reason I like these journey stories, and especially the happenstance or serendipitous nature of how things kind of come together, is when you're in that entrepreneurial space and you're the founder and you're trying to do everything, and maybe you bring someone in here and you've got now a small team and you're doing good stuff, and all those rewarding things certainly for Joe were in place. And you're also building a business. You have to cultivate your team and really care for your clients. But then in these conversations, somehow organically it can come together, and you get, it's almost like a transfer of, or I'm going to say indoctrination, but that's not necessarily what I mean. It's like the passion of a founder when you're in a conversation like this. I can only imagine what that was like, but you can see it, you can feel it, you can start to understand it. And then when they're conveying some of the things they want to do and it starts to resonate, you're like, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I know how to do that. And then you can focus on those other things that you're still doing. But one person can't do everything. So building a team and bringing someone in that doesn't have the exact like insights, those can come into play pretty easily for you, right? You're a quick study, you've seen multiple industries. So now I wanted to ask you, um, when it comes to facilities operations in healthcare, now that you've been there and you've kind of seen a lot of this and you're involved in a lot of the different things that happen on the client side, do you find that they're quite different from typical facilities management operations when it comes to the process that they need for doing day-to-day operations?
I don't know that it's significantly different. I think that there's several general themes and trends that are affecting all facility operations that are kind of in the industry. Certainly, when you layer on top a regulatory compliance aspect to the work that our healthcare customers, live in day to day, that adds another dimension that is so critically important, and one that we focus a lot of time and effort on ensuring that we are, um, you know, uh, as up to date with that as possible, incorporating as much of that information as possible, and generating the insights and outcomes in the software that aligns with those compliance needs. But when we talk to our customers, they all talk universally around the labor challenges and generational transition, knowledge transfer, retention, doing more with smaller budgets and those types of things. How do we know what to use with emerging technologies and other capabilities? Where to invest long-term funds that you got to get a lot out of over a long period of time, and you don't have kind of disposable income to be an early adopter on some flash in the pan technology, but also how do you leverage technology advancements in order to um, get the most out of your data and in how you apply your resources, and then never mind layer on security and risk assessment and those types of things. So those are all components that I think everybody across the facility world is facing. I think when you're not just talking about life safety of those in the building, but also the fact that that building is serving kind of a greater purpose for our society. There's an added component there that we certainly try and appreciate every day. But it's what are those big themes are tough to wrestle with, regardless, and then the nuance is what we try and really understand and pinpoint as a healthcare CMS that has been in healthcare CMS for 20 plus years now.
Yeah, and I think that's a really key viewpoint, way of quote unquote being when you're engaging with clients, potential clients, is focusing in on that nuanced aspect of how they run their operation. Because you could take 100 different healthcare organizations and you'll find differences. It doesn't mean they're not all in some ways beholden to joint commission and other regulatory compliance that may or may not be in place in other facilities type operations. But I think when you talk about the greater good of who's being served and why they're there and all those things, sure, healthcare organizations, they make money, but they make money so that they can employ people, so that they can help the local community and all those types of things. So in the end, it becomes a really, really good thing. So I think that can be extremely rewarding about what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say, I mean, uh, at its sort of basic, a CMMS is an asset database and work order management, right? And you can apply or implement a CMMS from industrial manufacturing into healthcare, and you could use it. You could find a way to do it. But with so many other competing priorities for our customers' time, the technicians, the engineers, the administrators, the facility directors, et cetera, they don't want to spend their time working in tailoring workflows and software. They want it to work out of the box. And I'm sure that's the exact same in other industries and other verticals as well. So, I don't think anybody has a monopoly on that need. But we even see, depending on what department within the hospital, there's slightly different vocabulary or there are different workflows, and making sure that we understand those differences and have a solution out of the box is what we focus on day in and day out, in order to just make it so that the software empowers the users and not the other way around, which can quite easily be the case when you're trying to use something that's not purpose built for the actual application.
I I like the way you said all that because I've seen it so many times as well, and really what you're doing is focusing in on moving them forward and understanding them as much as you can at the end of the day. And I think that's important. So, one of the things that's a really common theme in the last, for sure, year or two, but I think this goes back forever almost, is businesses sometimes struggle to connect maintenance operations of any kind to the business in a way that makes it meaningful from a revenue perspective. Like maintenance is oftentimes viewed as an expense. They hit the balance sheet, and maybe a CFO just isn't seeing how that impacts the business, in a positive way. They just see it as a pure cost. And I think those departments and people involved in making the case for getting a CMMS platform that's specific for what their needs are, they struggle with making that case, maybe because there's differences in the language. And what I mean is the day-to-day operational language that maybe the finance department speaks, as opposed to
Yeah.
maintenance and operations that are really focused on getting things done and they need empowerment. Do you see that as still kind of an ongoing struggle that people need to continue to just work on, no matter what, on how they communicate department to department in order to get the buy-in to move forward with a solution?
It's such a challenge, regardless of. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what we see within facility operations as it relates to kind of finance. I think in any large organization, getting the departments to understand, uh, use the same language, or communicate their needs and be a partner, it's such a challenge that we've thought about that from a product standpoint. And with the understanding and realization that as CMMS holds a invaluable amount of data about the ongoing historical and future operations of a, let's say, a hospital in this case, leveraging that data to help the facility or biomed clinical engineering HTM leaders speak the finance language in order to come to the right answers on capital allocation, and what they can expect from an operating budgeting perspective. So we one of the most exciting things that we deployed last year was a capital planning module to leverage that data that's inherent in every CMMS. But how do we empower our users to have the conversations that they're having anyway, that they are scraping together the data, or doing a ton of work to do analysis outside of the core system. But there's a lot of amazing things that technology and computers can do these days, and one of them is crunching information and spitting out analysis and insights. And You hit the nail on the head. We identified that communication between finance and facilities is an incredibly important one that we can do some work on our side to help facilitate a little bit better.
Absolutely. And I would add to that, which I think it's appropriate, is that data is really, really good. It's great to have a lot of data, but the data is only as good as what you can do with it when it comes to gleaning those insights that are actually meaningful and give you a way forward to justify expense, investment, and those kinds of data sets that you're collecting with the platform are going to help somebody with justifying added headcount, showing that we absolutely need to replace a certain set of assets, whether it's the medical equipment itself, the facility centric equipment itself, the HEPA systems, on and on like this, right? All that stuff. It's really good. Now, when it comes to the overall market, current and then in the future, I'm wondering if there are any big plans you have at FSI that you can share. And this would be big plans aside from the fact that you guys are going to be at the Healthcare Facilities Innovation Conference this July in Anaheim, California. So, is there anything otherwise that you can share that people should know about? Maybe things you might be doing with AI, and not looking for you to give away trade secrets, but more about stuff that people could be excited about that might inspire them to say, "Hey, I want to take a look at what these guys are doing."
Sure. I mean, we've invested significantly on our product and engineering teams and grown those teams considerably over the last couple of years. So we are constantly working on new product and feature innovation across the board. from as simple but also impactful as rolling out a cleaner interface for our suite of software. That's on the horizon for this year. We're investing a lot in integrations and scalable integration platforms. So Part Source and Scenario are two integrations that we're going live with that allow more data to come into the CMMS and generate even better outcomes or insights. I mentioned capital planning. We've just kicked that off, which has been fantastic. And we're continuing to look at how we visualize and show more information at people's fingertips. So that's all going on the product and engineering side of things. We have our 10th annual user conference coming up in Charleston in March. If we have any listeners that are interested, please reach out. It's an incredibly exciting event that the opportunity to talk to your customers, not just like in person and live, is important, but face to face and spending a couple days with folks is incredibly energizing. It's where we've gotten some of our best ideas for products and understanding, and just that time to spend with what are we intending to build, how are you guys intending to use it, and then let's meet in the middle and kind of figure that out. It's incredibly, like I said, energizing and engaging, and it's the highlight for our team. So that's happening in March. We will be at ASHE in August. We'll be at AMI on the HTM side, and we've been doing a ton of more regional shows, including like TAFM, GASHE, I think it's CASHE, the California Society of Healthcare Engineering, FIA, et cetera. The list goes on. But being in person with our customers and potential customers and partners is a huge priority for 24. And that stands for the whole company, from sales to engineering and product, to our customer success and customer support folks, as well as myself and other members of the management team.
Yeah, last year, I think you already know about this, but when you guys were up at the Long Beach Convention Center, and I think that was for ASHE, if I recall correctly. If I'm wrong about that, sorry. However, went up there, went in, got to meet several of the team members and see how that particular conference was structured differently than some of the other ones. And they all seem the same, but I was watching all the interactions and I was looking at the different types of team members that you had at the booth. And I got to, instead of just being online, I got to see some stuff in person about one of my favorite things about the platform that you offer. And, for everybody out there, it's not like selling software or anything. This is more about something I thought was useful. And they had this thing called CMS View, where you really get the visual elements that you need. And it also has something that actually can show you the real image of an area within, physical plant or environmental services. And I thought that was pretty cool. But I want to switch this up to some fun questions, because
Sure.
you've got a company to run and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but we're going to do some fun questions. You cool with that?
Yeah, please. Let's go.
All right. Number one, and there are no right or wrong answers on any of these. So
good to know.
number one, what is your favorite music?
Favorite music. I like a lot of different music. I've been listening to more country than I ever have in the past, but like Americana, bluegrass type variety of music like that is typically my go-to.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. The next one now, this is going to be, what is your favorite sport or hobby? And you don't have to play it. It could be something that you like to watch or support.
Great question. So that's certainly evolved over time. I played lacrosse in high school and college, and so that big passion of mine, but not something I do today. I am a big English Premier League fan, and that's been a passion that has evolved over the last probably 5 years. But I like sports of all kinds, and being from New England, big Patriots fan. And it's been a little bit of a different fan experience over the last couple of years, but that's all right. But yeah, I'd say right now I'm most engaged in EPL.
All right. Very good. Very good. Now, the last one, and again, I'll remind you, there's no right or wrong answers. This is just a very interesting question that I like to ask because you hear it all. What is your perspective on work life balance and how to achieve it?
Oh man, if I had the right answer, I'd probably, I don't know, it'd be good to know. Listen. I think if you are able to be passionate about work, then it isn't so much of a black and white question about work life balance. Yeah, I work out of my house. I'm on the third floor of a 180-year-old house in Providence, Rhode Island, and that has huge advantages and sometimes crazy challenges. I've got two young kids and a dog, which is probably the most challenging part of it. So we're everybody's kind of adopting and figuring it out as the world continues to change around us. So I don't think that there's a static answer to that. But with that said, being passionate about what you do, both on the home side and on the work side, allows you to kind of gain enjoyment across the board. And then I don't feel a huge need with dividing up my day in a very strict work life structure. It's a little bit more organic and fluid.
Yeah, and I think that's why I always remind everyone that there's no right answers because everybody's right answer to that kind of unfolds, it evolves, it kind of moves. There's maybe some good guiding or general basic principles that you might want to have in place because life is life and these are all things that are happening day in and day out. So
Totally.
is there balance? I don't know. Is there always a way forward? I believe so. And everybody does it a little bit differently based on what you're doing. I love the idea about passion, though. Passion everywhere makes everything possible. And as human beings, I think, intrinsic motivation plays an incredible role in how that concept of work life balance unfolds and what that really means or what it looks like. People seeing it see it differently than what you might experience and feel yourself. So I love every answer, but I always like to ask it without putting anything like in your mind before you
Yeah,
start
and
talking about it.
to your point, it means different things to different people, and
Yes.
this world is anything but static, and so you kind of gotta uh, be able to be nimble when it comes to things like that, even kind of these bigger existential questions.
Love
You
it.
can't be too rigid.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Anytime there's a chance to use the word existential, I love it. So, because we could do a whole nother episode on topics like that where I'd just be
There
geeking
we go.
out. I love that stuff. So, I appreciate the time today, and I want to let everybody know how to get in touch with you. So, to get in touch with Zach Seely, you can find him on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And to learn more about FSI and their healthcare specific CMMS solutions, you can visit www.fsiservices.com and you can schedule a discovery call just to get in touch with them and learn anything. So, I'm going to give you the floor. Any last things to add?
No, I really appreciate it, Greg. This is fantastic. And yeah, look forward to continuing our conversation in the future. This has been terrific.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time today. This was really fun. I love getting these insights, and hopefully I can sneak up there to Anaheim when you guys are there and say hello. Maybe.
Come down, come over. We'll have a large booth, large presence. We will be sending 15 to 20 people. It's a big tentpole event for us, and folks from all over the company, from our professional services side to engineers to product folks, sales, marketing, you name it, will be there, and we'd love to catch up in person.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS from selection to implementation to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.